The party is committed to taking away from the centralisation which has happened in Westminster. We are proposing to allow good schools to expand, letting parents, if they say that this school is excellent, I want to send my children there, and somebody else says, well, it's already up to quota, no, that school will be allowed to expand, it will be able to move forward. We've welcomed the trusts which have come in place, and we want to give them more powers to move those forward because they are controlled by the local community. They're controlled by the governors of those schools, they're controlled by the local schools and the groupings they're in, and they are representative of the people. Now, nobody in Westminster can have a clue of what is suitable for the children in Wetherby and Boston Spa and the villages beyond, because, you know, equally what's going on in St Ives, I don't know. It's at the other end of the country. But at this local level, we are well placed. I'm a governor of East Garforth Primary School, I have been for 10 years. We've entered into that trust and we've got far more control now over the children being able to feed through to the community college. But what we want to see is more freedom given to the schools to allow them to expand. So to a certain extent, we're moving towards a thing where we set the framework and let the schools decide on the detail and let them move forward. And we welcome the abolition of SATs at the lower level because I think we're putting too much pressure early on young children. They're tested again when they get to secondary school anyway, so it doesn't really help. In terms of the NHS, we want to see a reduction in the bureaucracy which carries on around the NHS, and that means a reform of the care trusts, etc., so that the money used does go to the front line and is controlled by the clinicians, the ones who know where the resources need to be based. And I don't think there'll be anybody in this room who believes the government when they said this week that there is no longer a waiting list in the NHS. It's a nonsense. But this is the sort of nonsense which comes about through reports sitting on tables saying that X% met it. The number of times, I don't know if anybody's been to accident emergency. When was the last time I went? About 3 years ago, I damaged my eye, or something in my eye. I sat in A&E for 4 hours. But at 3 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, I was called through and waited for another hour in another room. But then I waited for just 4 hours in casualty. It was another hour before I got seen, and the actual appointment lasted 5 minutes, where they just put some dye in my eye to check whether it had been scratched, etc., and gave me some eye drops. But you see, no waiting times. You know, there's no waiting times, but they push them through. Some people wait hours once they've got out of that bit on trolleys, etc. Again, the resources and the management needs to go to the people who actually are in the hospitals, are the clinicians and are doing things correctly. So, in a way, yes, there is going to be
a do away with these targets?
Yes. Targets are going in so many ways. I mean, in terms of the police force, in terms of the NHS, targets in the police force have crippled the police force, really. Do you know, on an 8-hour shift, the police officer spends 1 hour on the street on average. Now, our policy is if we can cut this paperwork and get them for 2 hours on the street, we've just doubled the police force. So, and if we can move further than that, etc., etc. So we've got to cut some of this paperwork and bureaucracy.